Good morning to everybody out there. The VRE Operations Board meeting will now come to order. Rich, will you review the participation instructions for the meeting?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. To mute or unmute your microphone, only click on the microphone icon on your computer. No changes to your phone are necessary. If you wish to send a chat message to an administrator, click on the chat icon. Reminder, no public business can be conducted over the chat. Also, to raise your hand for questions or comments, open up the participant window, click the hand icon next to your name to raise your hand. The only visual component of this meeting is the presentation slides, which are being shown to those on WebEx and on the VRE YouTube channel. These slides include photos of the main speakers. Chairman Skinner will ask for any questions or comments after receiving a motion and a second to consider each resolution. To indicate you have a question, comment, and wish to raise your hand, click on the participant button and then on the hand icon next to your name in the participant list. Keep the participant window open, which should show up on the right side of your screen. Robert Hostelka will be monitoring the hand raising and will let the chair know if there are any questions. When called upon, please announce your name and to whom your question and comment is directed. There will be a roll call vote for each action item. Please follow the roll call and be ready to unmute your name when called.
Thank you, Richard. Leslie, would you please do the roll call vote?
Mr. Alcorn.
Here.
Ms. Banks.
Here.
Ms. Bailey. Ms. Bailey. Ms. Bennett Parker.
Here.
Ms. Baumke.
Here.
Ms. Crystal.
Here.
Ms. Franklin.
Here.
Mr. Horsley. Mr. Kelly. Ms. Lawson. Ms. Shelton.
Here.
Chairman Skinner.
Here.
Mr. Smith.
Here.
Mr. Stork. Mr. Walkinshaw.
Here.
Mr. Chairman, it appears we have a quorum.
And Todd Horsley is here from BRBT. Sorry about that.
Thank you very much, Mr. Horsley.
Move into the action item, resolution number 3-12-2020, finding need to conduct a December 18th, 2020 meeting electronically. We have a preliminary resolution necessary to conduct this virtual meeting. Rich, will you give the board an overview of item 3?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The VRE Operation Board finds that meeting by electronic means is authorized because the nature of the current declared emergency makes it both impractical and unsafe for the Operations Board to assemble in a single location, are statutorily required or necessary to continue operations and the discharge of the Operations Board lawful duties, and the items on today's agenda are encompassed within the continuity of operations ordinances adopted by several member localities of the VRE to assure continued operation during the disaster posed by the public health emergency resulting from COVID-19.
Do I have a motion and a second to approve resolution 3-12-22, finding need to conduct a December 18th, 2020 meeting electronically?
So moved.
This is Ralph Smith, second.
Who was the primary, please?
Shelton. Ms. Shelton.
Thank you.
Sorry,
Are there any questions regarding this resolution? If none, would the clerk please call the roll for the vote to approve resolution 3-12-2020?
Mr. Alcorn.
Aye.
Ms. Bailey.
Aye.
Mr. Banks.
Aye.
Ms. Bennett Parker,
Aye.
Ms. Bomke,
Aye.
Ms. Crystal,
Aye.
Ms. Franklin,
Aye.
Mr. Horsley,
Aye.
Ms. Shelton,
Aye.
Chairman Skinner,
Aye.
Mr. Smith,
Aye.
Mr. Stork,
Aye.
Mr. Walkinshaw.
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, that motion passes.
Okay, thank you. Leslie, could you ask if Ms. Larson is on at this time or not? I can do that.
Chairman Skinner, this is Supervisor Bomke. She was having some technical problems at the office.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll just move on. All right, approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion and a second to approve the agenda?
So move Supervisor Bailey.
Second, Bennett Parker.
Thank you. All right, will we, are there any questions to the agenda or adjustments? Okay, in that case, would you call for the vote, please, Leslie?
Yes, Mr. Alcorn,
Aye.
Mr. Banks,
Aye.
Bennett Parker,
Aye.
Ms. Bomke,
Aye.
Ms. Crystal,
Aye.
Franklin,
Aye.
Mr. Horsley,
Aye.
Ms. Shelton,
Aye.
Skinner,
Aye.
Mr. Smith,
Aye.
Mr. Stork,
Aye.
Mr. Walkinshaw.
Aye. I'm sorry, aye.
Mr. Chairman, that resolution passes. That motion passes. Thank you.
We'll move on to approve the minutes of the November 20th, 2020 VRE Operations Board meeting. Can I have a motion and a second to approve the minutes of November 20th, 2020?
So move Supervisor Bailey.
Ralph Smith.
Second? Okay, thank you. Does anyone have any correction to the minutes? Will the clerk recall the roll for the vote?
Mr. Alcorn.
Aye.
Ms. Bailey,
Aye.
Mr. Banks,
Aye.
Ms. Bennett Parker,
Aye.
Ms. Bomke,
Aye.
Ms. Crystal,
Aye.
Ms. Franklin,
Aye.
Mr. Horsley.
I need to abstain. I was not present.
Thank you, sir.
Janae is on.
Ms. Lawson,
Good morning. Aye.
Ms. Shelton,
Aye.
Chairman Skinner,
Aye.
Mr. Smith,
Aye.
Mr. Stork,
Aye.
Mr. Walkinshaw.
Aye.
And Mr. Chairman, that motion passes.
I haven't heard his name. Okay. Did she call him? Okay, thank you. Thank you, Leslie, I appreciate it. Folks, welcome to the December VRE Operations Board meeting. This is our last meeting of 2020. We've made through significant changes, but I'm sure I'm not alone in hoping that 2021 is a better year for our passengers and our staff and ourselves. Today is the last day of Hanukkah, and of course, next week is Christmas. So I want to take an opportunity to wish you all a happy holidays. And now CEO Rich Dalton will give his report.
Thank you, Chair Skinner. We'll start off with, on the safety side, I just wanted to, at this point, formally acknowledge receipt of the Virginia Transit Association's Exceptional Safety Award for 2020. Early in the year, we notified you that we had been selected, and this past Tuesday, the Virginia Transit Association held a virtual awards ceremony. So I just want to share as part of the submittal just the framework from which VRE generally operates from a safety perspective, and just with this statement, since VRE's inception, safety has permeated every aspect of our operation. It has guided all actions and decisions by staff, train crews, maintenance workers, and the operations board. Within the awards, jury noted that VRE looks for opportunities for proactive, continuous improvement, and then it pointed to positive train control implementation, first responder training, and safety messaging as examples of how VRE uses all of the tools at its disposal to ensure everyone's safe. So here at the VRE staff, very excited to be acknowledged for all that hard work that has occurred over not just the recent past, but over the many decades. And of course, we all couldn't do it without our partners, our contracted service providers, and of course, with the leadership of the operations board. From the COVID standpoint, we continue to emphasize in our enhanced cleaning methods through messaging, social distancing and the wearing of face coverings, hand hygiene, et cetera, have all remained paramount. We still observe a strong daily compliance of passengers wearing face coverings on board VRE trains and at our stations. And then VRE staff continues to work primarily from remote work environments and maintain a continuity of operations. Monthly ridership. Well, first of all, we continue to operate at a reduced service level, our S Schedule Plus. And so overall ridership continues to be down since March. We also saw a slight decrease in ridership for November compared to recent months, primarily due to the Thanksgiving holiday. We had a fewer numbers of actual service days. Next slide. So of course that did have a relationship to our average daily ridership. We saw average daily ridership for the month just dip below about 1,300 average daily riders. On-time performance continues to be strong as we've experienced for most of the calendar year. For the month of November, our system on-time performance was 93%. This month's VRE project spotlight is VRE Mobile. And just wanted to give a quick background here. As some of you or most of you recall, VRE was the first transit agency in the Washington, D.C. region to successfully implement a mobile ticketing solution back in May of 2015. And then in January of this past year of 2020, we were formally notified by the developer and host of the VRE Mobile. They were transitioning out of the North American market. So in February, we received authorization from the operations board to conduct a solicitation for a new provider. In July of 2020, we awarded a contract to American Eagle. Since July, we have been working with American Eagle on development and implementation. The beta test for phase 1 of the updated version of VRE Mobile launched on December 15th essentially to a volunteer group and VRE staff. Phase 1, this particular phase focuses just primarily on the ticketing functionality, including smart benefits integration. The full rollout of this phase that will essentially go public will occur in early January of 21. And then the next phase, which actually just rolls out on the heels of phase 1, will include a web portal, Amtrak step-up tickets, and other features to enhance the passenger experience. And then I just want to finally note, we continue to work with other transit agencies to develop a regional ticketing solution. For example, working with staff at OmniRide will include a monthly pass for OmniRide shortly after the phase 1 launch and as we go into phase 2. And we continue to, of course, work with NVTC and our other partners on a regional fare collection strategy incorporating mobile ticketing. Next slide. So we continue to refresh our messaging through Train Talk, social media, and on the VRE website as we welcome back our riders. Just wanted to note that VRE recently joined other transit providers across the country, pledging our commitment to the commuting public's health and safety. Next slide. As most of you know, each year VRE partners with the U.S. Marine Corps to collect toys for the annual Marine Corps Toys for Tots drive. We held our annual Toys for Tots drive a little different this year. We did it over a couple of days, December 7th through December 9th. And this year we did not collect any money on board our trains. Rather, we asked our riders to donate directly to Toys for Tots versus via their online site. I will say that VRE riders over the years, and this year was no exception, are usually one of the largest contributors in Northern Virginia area to this particular drive, and we are proud of their generous contributions again this year. That is the end of my report, Chair Skinner.
Thank you, Rich. Folks, I want to go back one more comment by me, and that is we have closed session today, and then we're going to adjourn, but we're going to go back into a closed session for the VRE Operations Board Legal Service Committee, which is made up of Ms. Crystal, Ms. Larson, Mr. Smith, Mr. Stork, and myself. But I want to make sure that everybody understands that you're welcome to join us in the closed session. The purpose of this is to talk about Mr. McIsaac's proposal as being our permanent lawyer. So I wanted to give you all heads up. If you want to join us, Robert, how do they let you know? Because right now you'll have to join them as far as the second closed session, or?
Yes, they can send a message to the meeting administrator, and then we will move them into the closed session at the appropriate time. We'll use the breakout sessions features within WebEx.
Thank you very much. So if you have any questions about that, everybody understand? So if you will go to the administration, right? And let them know that you want to be in that closed meeting, that'll be great. Okay? All right, thank you. Leslie, do we have any public comments at this time?
Mr. Chairman, there have been no public comments submitted.
Thank you very much. All right, so action number 9 is the approval of the 2021 VRE Operations Board Officer. Ms. Larson, I'm going to turn that over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The 2021 VRE nomination committee met in early December. Serving on the committee were myself, Katie Crystal, Meg Bomke, and Andrea Bailey. And we had a robust conversation and considered some new candidates for new members to the position of the treasurer of the executive committee. And I, on behalf of the committee, would like to move forward the slate of officers for 2021 with Miss Elizabeth Bennett Parker from the City of Alexandria serving next year as the VRE chair, myself as the VRE vice chair, Mr. James Walkinshaw as secretary, and Mr. Preston Banks as treasurer.
Thank you very much. Do I have a motion and a second to approve the resolution 9A?
So move, Meg Bomke.
Second, Katie Crystal.
Thank you. Are there, at this time too, are there any nominations from the floor? Seeing none, I'll ask the clerk to go ahead and take the roll call vote.
Mr. Chairman, this is Supervisor Bomke.
Yes, ma'am.
just during discussion. I would just like to echo what Supervisor Lawson said, that it was a very healthy, robust discussion. And just want to echo that on behalf of the nominating committee. And just really appreciated everybody that was on the nominating committee, the way that we all interacted, and just the way it was a very robust discussion, which it should be in situations like that. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bomke. All right, Leslie, if you call, the vote call, please.
Mr. Alcorn? Mr. Alcorn, we did not hear you.
Oh, sorry. Can you hear me now? Aye.
Yes. Thank you. Ms. Bailey?
Aye.
Mr. Banks?
Aye.
Ms. Bomke?
Aye.
Anna Parker?
Aye.
Ms. Crystal?
With enthusiasm, aye.
Ms. Franklin?
Aye.
Mr. Horsley?
Aye.
Lawson?
Aye.
Ms. Shelton?
Aye.
Chairman Skinner?
Aye.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Stork?
Aye.
And Mr. Walkinshaw?
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, that motion passes.
Thank you very much. 9B is authorization to execute a contract for electronic fuel injectors assemblies. Action 19B, authorization to, a contract for the electronic fuel injectors. Rich, will you give us an overview, please?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. The recommendation is to seek authorization from the Operations Board, authorizing the CEO to execute contract with Progress Rail Locomotive, Inc. of LaGrange, Illinois, for electronic fuel injector assemblies in the amount stated in the resolution, plus a contingency for a total amount not to exceed $654,429. And in summary, the manufacturer of our 20 locomotives recommends the replacement of the electronic fuel injector assemblies after every 3 years of service to not only maintain optimal performance, but to remain in compliance with the EPA Tier 2 certification of the prime mover. That's my summary, Mr. Chair.
Rich, and this is part of our life cycle, correct?
Yes, sir. It is integrated into our life cycle maintenance program as well. Yeah.
Do I have a motion and a second for the approved resolution 9B?
So move, Supervisor Bailey.
Second, Bennett Parker.
Are there any questions about this resolution? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll call for the vote?
Mr. Alcorn?
Aye.
Bailey?
Aye.
Mr. Banks?
Aye.
Ms. Bennett Parker?
Aye.
Ms. Bomke?
Aye.
Crystal?
Aye.
Franklin?
Aye.
Ms. Lawson?
Aye.
Mr. Horsley?
Aye.
Ms. Shelton?
Aye.
Chairman Skinner?
Aye.
Mr. Smith?
Aye.
Mr. Stork?
Aye.
And Mr. Walkinshaw?
Aye.
Mr.
Leslie,
Chairman-
did you get Ms. Lawson? I know she's on.
Yes.
Yes, hello, Ms. Lawson, I didn't get a response, I don't believe.
Maybe it's aye.
Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you so much. And Mr. Chairman, that motion passes.
Thank you very much, Leslie. 9C, authorization to issue a MEC 7 task order for National Transit Database and Asset Management Reporting Phase 7. Rich, please give us an overview.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We're seeking authorization for the CEO to issue a task order under the Mechanical Engineering Consulting Services Contract, or MEC 7, to STV Incorporated for National Transit Database and Asset Reporting, Phase 7, in the amount stated in the resolution, plus a contingency for a total amount not to exceed $470,579. And then just in summary, generally speaking, over the last several years, we've done an annual task order to our current MEC provider, which is STV. And this task order provides resources for managing, maintaining, and further developing our transit asset management program in compliance with federal regulation. In calendar year 2021, STV will conduct facility condition assessments, which is going to be required for the calendar year 2022 reporting period. And then finally, through this task order, STV staff continues to provide the necessary support for annual reporting to NTD, or the National Transit Database, on the federal side, and then Trans-Am on the state side. That's my summary, Mr. Chair.
Does anybody have any questions for Rich? Okay, seeing none or hearing none, will the clerk please call the roll for the vote to approve item 9C?
Mr. Chairman, I move for approval.
Thank you.
Second, Supervisor Bailey.
Thank you, Ms. Larson. I should have missed that. So we've got the approval. Now, are there any questions? If none, let's call the vote, please.
Mr. Alcorn,
Aye.
Ms. Bailey,
Aye.
Mr. Banks,
Aye.
Janet Parker,
Aye.
Ms. Baumke,
Aye.
Ms. Crystal,
Aye.
Ms. Franklin,
Aye.
Mr. Horsley,
Aye.
Lawson,
Aye.
Ms. Shelton,
Aye.
Chairman Skinner,
Aye.
Mr. Smith,
Aye.
Mr. Stork,
Aye. Aye.
and Mr. Walkinshaw.
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, that motion passes.
Thank you very much. Item 9D, referral of the amended fiscal year 2021 and the recommended fiscal year 2022 VRE operations and capital budgets to the commissions and localities. Rich will give us an overview, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So the recommendation is the VRE Operations Board is asked to adopt the amended FY 2021 VRE operating and capital budget and the recommended FY 2022 VRE operating and capital budget, and refer them to the commissions for their consideration and subsequent referral to the jurisdictions for their review and adoption. And then to recommend the commissions authorize the executive directors of both NVTC and PRTC to take the necessary actions to apply for federal and state grant funding. So in summary, just as a quick background, we presented the preliminary budget or the preliminary FY 2022 budget in September, followed by updates in October and November at the respective operations board meetings. I will highlight the key elements of the recommended budget that we're about to summarize for you, specifically for the FY 2022 operating budget, is that it is balanced, and it also includes no changes to jurisdictional contribution into passenger fares as compared to FY 2021. So now I'll ask Mark Schofield, VRE's Chief Financial Officer, to provide just an overview of the recommended budgets. Mr. Schofield, good morning.
Good morning. Thank you, Rich. Good morning, board members. As the chairman indicated, this has certainly been a challenging year, and it has been an interesting budget process. But at the end, we have a budget here for your consideration that will allow us to return to full service at any point during the coming year, that retains our experienced workforce, that balances the necessary funding for our service in a prudent way, and that continues to advance our key capital projects. And in the current context, I think that is actually quite a positive achievement. I want to express my appreciation to all the VRE staff for their hard work on the budget, and also to our jurisdictional partners for all of their support. I will start with the FY22 operating budget and then provide information on the capital budget, the CIP. I also want to note that when we talk here today about the CARES Act, we mean the legislation that was passed in late March of this year that provided approximately $25 billion to transit agencies across the country. Our budget here does not assume anything with respect to the latest relief legislation that is currently being negotiated in Congress. So just wanted to make that clear. As Rich indicated, the key highlight of the budget, of course, is that it is balanced with no gap, despite the challenges that we have with the pandemic. All the projected operating expenses are matched by reasonably expected revenues, whether that comes from passenger fares, local contribution, state operating assistance, or the CARES Act. The 22 budget includes no changes to passenger fares or to the total jurisdictional contribution. This is a deviation from our normal policy of increases to those in alternating years. I think we all agree that raising either of those in this environment would have been very challenging. But I do also believe that having that stated policy of regular, modest increases in the contributions and the fares is good for the sustainability of VRE. And so that is something that we will need to revisit in next year when we have a little bit more clarity about what our sort of new normal environment is. Our total operating budget for 22, including existing debt service, is $89.7 million. This is a decrease of $1.7 million, or close to 2%, over the approved 21 budget. As mentioned, it includes all the necessary expenses to return to a normal service plan of 32 daily trains at any point during the year when the passenger demand requires it. The reduction in cost is due to a number of different factors: low diesel prices, lower projected ridership that translates into lower sales commissions and bank fees, and reductions in discretionary expenses, particularly consulting and things like that. All of these reductions will help to stretch the CARES Act money that we have further into the future. I also want to note that at the moment, we're continuing to project our track access fees as if our current relationship with CSX is continuing. Of course, the details of our new track access agreement with the VPRA, the Virginia Passenger Rail Association, are still being determined, but at the end of the day, we should be paying the same or less in total. And so we believe that from a budgeting perspective, this is an appropriately conservative way to budget it. We do expect to update those access fees next year as a part of the amended 22 budget. So before we talk about the impact of the pandemic on ridership, which of course is the biggest question, I do want to talk about 3 areas where the pandemic has impacted the process of doing the budget. We've covered these issues at various times during the fall, and all of them are made explicit in the budget resolution, but I just wanted to call them out here. So number 1, we did not conduct our usual rider survey in October. In addition to the challenge of safely administering that survey, we did not believe that it would produce reliable data to use it in the allocation of the subsidy. And at the board's direction, we are using the FY21 allocation percentages to allocate the FY22 contribution. Number 2, the budget does not achieve a 50% recovery ratio, which means covering half of our expenses with passenger fares. Rather than achieving balance through higher fares or cutting of service or increased contributions from the jurisdictions, this budget maintains our service levels and quality, and achieves that balance through the available emergency funding from DRPT and from the CARES Act. Number 3, at this time, the budget does not include a 6-year projection as we usually have. This projection is intended normally to demonstrate the sustainability of VRE's budget and to highlight areas of potential risk so that they can be addressed in advance. Doing a forecast like this moment would include highly uncertain estimates on a number of key variables, particularly including ridership, and we believe simply would not be a reliable basis for the operations board to make decisions. As the recovery from the pandemic moves ahead, and as the outlook for commuting and VRE ridership is clarified, we will return to the operations board with additional information and additional projections for the years beyond 22. So this table shows the contribution for each of your jurisdictions in fiscal year 22. As we mentioned, the total contribution for 22 is the same as 21, and with no survey, the allocation is also the same as 21. So if you do some really complicated math there, you will find that means each jurisdiction's contribution this year is exactly the same to the dollar as last year. So now, ridership and revenue. As we have discussed, we expect to maintain our current daily ridership levels below 2,000 trips per day through the winter and into the early spring. Then we expect or hope that ridership will begin to return once the vaccines become more widely distributed and employees begin returning to work. Our projected fare revenue for this year, 21, is expected to be slightly below $10 million, which is down almost 80% relative to a normal year. This is reflected in the amended 21 budget, and I'll return to that briefly at the end. Our projected revenue for 22 is $18 million, which is still less than half a normal year. That translates to an expected average daily ridership of about 6,000 trips. But of course, we don't expect to have that exact number of trips across all 12 months of the year. Rather, we expect to start below that and hope to end well above that. I'll be candid, of course, that this is really just our best educated guess. We don't know exactly how quickly riders will return, and we don't know what their travel behavior will look like once the immediate sort of public health concerns have gone away. Some riders are likely to return to their old commuting patterns. Others are likely to mix more working from home with working at the office. And others may find that they don't have to commute much at all. All of us, of course, will be watching these trends very closely. And we hope to have a much better sense when we're in this position a year from now in order to adopt the 23 budget and also to amend the 22 budget. So the reason, of course, that we can handle the uncertainty in ridership and revenue is the additional state assistance that we've received from DRPT and the CARES Act. VRE was allocated approximately $86 million in relief through the CARES Act. So as reflected in our amended 21 and our recommended 22 budgets, our projected use of the CARES Act to supplement that lost revenue is shown in this table here. We came into the last quarter of 2020 in a relatively strong position, so we did not need to draw too much, only about $3 million on the CARES Act. But with less than $10 million in revenue projected for this year, we anticipate needing approximately $32 million of the CARES Act money in 2021. That declines a bit in our projection for 22 as revenue is expected to increase. Passenger revenue is expected to increase, but the proposed budget does still require almost $25 million in CARES Act support. Fortunately, that does leave us, as you see in the middle line of the table there, another about $25 million for the years beyond 22. And of course, we will continue to update the board as the year progresses and we see how well these projections play out. So now to move to the capital budget. As we had mentioned earlier, previously during the budget process, the total project count in our capital improvement program is now smaller, approximately 30 distinct projects, as some of our projects like the Slater's Lane crossover and the automated parking counters have been completed and taken out of the CIP. And some of our station projects like Lorton, Woodbridge, and Ripon have been removed because the work at these locations is now not expected to occur until 2030 or later, which is beyond the window, the 6-year window for the CIP. So given current cost estimates, the full funding of all the projects in the CIP requires approximately $819 million, the number down there at the bottom left of the table. And of that total, about $705 million, or 86%, is already committed from a range of federal, state, regional, and local sources. And while we do still have work to do, of course, to ensure the full funding of some of these key expansion projects, in particular the LaFont Station and the 4th track, and also the Broad Run expansion, we remain well positioned to expand our service in conjunction with the state's Transforming Rail in Virginia program. And just as a reminder on that front, earlier this month, the commissions approved the agreement with the Commonwealth for VRE to make a substantial contribution to that program utilizing the CROC. That agreement lays out a structure where VRE will issue debt backed by the CROC and contribute the proceeds from the debt issuance to the Commonwealth in order to purchase rail right-of-way from CSX. In addition, for a period of 10 years, VRE will contribute any remaining CROC money not being used for debt on a pay-as-you-go basis to the Commonwealth to use on critical rail projects in VRE's territory, namely the Long Bridge, the Alexandria 4th track, and the Springfield bypass. The budget right now shows our FY22 $15 million allocation of the CROC as being unprogrammed, since the exact timing of the debt issuance is not yet known, and the allocation of that $15 million between debt and pay-go is also not yet known. We should know these details when we're in this position a year from now, and we will reflect them in the amended 22 budget that will be included as a part of the 23 budget. Lastly, I just want to touch briefly on the amended 21 budget, which of course is part of this. Normally, as a part of adopting the budget for the upcoming year, we revise the current year budget to reflect new data on revenues and expenses. In most years, this is a relatively technical process. We're just changing line items here and there, putting in items that weren't known at the time of adoption. This year, of course, the amended 21 budget is substantially different than the original budget, particularly with respect to revenues. So as I mentioned, total passenger revenue in 21 is reduced to $10 million, which is a drop of about $34 million. State operating assistance is increased to $12 million as a result of reprogramming actions by DRPT to assist agencies across the Commonwealth in responding to the pandemic. And we express our appreciation to Director Mitchell and her whole team for the work that they've been doing on that. And then, of course, the gap is filled with the projected CARES Act reimbursement. On the expense side, we have seen, as we have talked about in previous meetings, a net increase in our liability and property insurance costs. We have had additional costs that are COVID specific with respect to cleaning and equipment and things like that. We have lower diesel expenses, lower by almost $1 million, and a decrease in retail sales commissions and bank discounts. So all of those are reflected in the amended 21 budget and are carrying into the 22 budget as well. And with that, I think I am done, and I would be happy to take questions. Thank you.
Anybody have any questions for Mark?
We do have a question.
Mr. Chairman, it's Supervisor Alcorn.
Yes.
Just a question. Thank you very much. This is excellent presentation. On the jurisdictional subsidy slide that you put up there, my question is, when was the last time we looked at the formula for those subsidies? And is that something that is approved by the commissions, or is that in state law?
That is actually laid out in the master agreement, the process for doing the survey, determining the residence of the riders and where they live, and then also determining the amount of air revenue that the riders in each of the jurisdiction contribute to VRE. And so then the subsidy calculation is done based on that data. We have had some discussions over the past couple of years about possibly moving to a 3-year rolling average to sort of smooth out some changes from year to year in the allocation. But beyond that, I don't think we've had any discussions recently on any major changes to the formula.
And when was that last updated or changed, or has it ever? Maybe it hasn't ever.
I'm looking around the room at Rich and Joe, but I don't believe that has been changed recently.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
Sure.
Robert? We have a question from Ms. Shelton as well.
Yes. Michelle?
Hi. Yes, thank you. I would like to go back to the track access fee reimbursement. Couldn't help but notice that in FY22, we're going to be losing our surface transportation funds. And I got to tell you, I'm really impressed that we're not making changes to the ridership costs as well as to the jurisdictional, outlays. So how are we going to make up that difference? What is your plan for that?
Okay, sure. We receive very substantial support from DRPT reimbursing the track access fees that we pay to the hosts. So DRPT contributes 84% of the cost, and VRE contributes the other 16%. Yep. What has been changing over the last couple of years is how DRPT internally is making that reimbursement. So in the past, they have made that reimbursement 50% out of STP money that the Commonwealth gets, and then 34% out of just direct state money. What they have done with us this year, the year that we're in currently, well, they've been moving away. They have identified other uses within the state for the STP money, and are now intending to reimburse us entirely with state funds. But from VRE's perspective, it doesn't really change things. We're still getting the same total amount of reimbursement that we were before.
All right. Well, thank you very much. So it's really going to come from the new Passenger Rail Authority, correct?
Yes, that is correct. We're sort of in a transition period at the moment between DRPT and VPRA.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for answering my question.
Sure.
Are there any other questions?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. This is Supervisor Bomke. Going back to Mr. Alcorn's question regarding the jurisdictional payments, if you had to guess, and I'll just share with you that we in Stafford County are looking at a lot of our other regional agreements, just because some of them haven't been updated in a while. So if you had to just kind of off the top of your head guess how these are allocated right now, and compare that to ridership, where do you think the biggest adjustments would be? And if you don't want to refer to all the other agencies, I'll just say in the case of Stafford, do you think based on our ridership or our previous ridership, not during COVID, we should be paying more or less? Or was that a tough question right at this moment?
Let me see if I can just explain it a little better. Right, it's a two-part calculation, so it includes both ridership in the jurisdiction and the fare revenues paid by riders in the jurisdiction. So if you think about Spotsylvania, for example, their riders are paying higher fares than riders in Fairfax County, who are generally closer to downtown. So that gets reflected in the subsidy. So Spotsylvania, if you look at the table, is paying about 8% of the subsidy, but they probably have, I'm just guessing off the top of my head, 9 or 10% of the riders, but they pay a little less in the jurisdictional contribution because their riders are paying more. And then Prince William County is kind of in the middle. They're 32% of the subsidy. They're probably around 32% of the ridership as well. And then the opposite would be true for Fairfax because they're closer. So I think from a high level, I think the structure of the way that the methodology of the allocation, I think it makes good sense. But as I mentioned, I think we would be interested again in talking about doing a multi-year calculation so that you don't get these jumps from year to year of just sort of the vagaries of the survey.
Okay, and last question, and maybe you already said this and I missed it. What was the date that this most recent agreement was negotiated and executed?
Steve is on the phone. I might turn to him.
Mr. Chairman, Ms. Bonke, I'm going from my memory, but I believe it was 2009. For years there was a population and ridership formula that was used. That was the original methodology for calculating local subsidies. In 2009, it evolved to be the subsidy Mr. Schofield described, which is principally based on ridership with a combination of the fare revenue. It was 2009.
Okay, so I think we would all agree that's been a while. So I'm just curious, how do we move forward if the board would like to have this addressed and maybe looked at in calendar year 2021, as we are living kind of under the CARES Act model really right now with our subsidies. And I like your idea of looking maybe at a 3-year projection, just because it would be easier for budgeting purposes, or looking at a rolling average.
Yeah, we would be. I would be happy to come back, maybe bring that to the Finance Committee as a place to begin the discussion.
That sounds great. I appreciate your efforts on that front, and I think that's something that we should be looking at. I mean, not that anybody wants to pay more. We all want to pay less. We know that. But I think that would be equitable and fair. And I feel like it's our duty and responsibility, since it's been a number of years, to relook at it. And we may decide there are no changes need to be made, but I think it's always worthy of a conversation.
Mr. Chair.
I'm sorry, who's talking?
Supervisor Bailey.
Yes, please, go ahead.
Yeah, I agree with Supervisor Bonke. I think we're at a place where everything is so unpredictable with COVID that it would give us a good assessment if we do relook.
Okay. Thank you very much. Anybody else have any comments?
Mr. Chair, this is Katie Crystal.
Yes.
Thank you. And in a similar vein, I think particularly those of us who've spent time mired in this catastrophic metro budget for the year ahead, this is like kind of astonishing, right? That we can just sort of absorb, right? Any remaining ridership losses, assume modest growth in ridership returns, no fare increases, and actually see a budget that doesn't involve really draconian cuts. I think a lot of things have broken our way, and we've been fortunate. And I also know that that's certainly due to strong financial planning and stewardship. So a big thank you to Mr. Schofield. I guess the biggest thing, it seems to me, in terms of COVID impacts, is that maybe we're seeing a little less contribution to reserves or things like that. So I do wonder, if there is another round of transit funding in the stimulus, and I think we're all desperately hoping that we'll hear some news of that in the coming weeks from Congress. I suppose my question for Mr. Schofield is, would we intend to revise this budget on that basis? I know we haven't received staggering amounts of CARES Act money, for example, but it's been really impactful in what it's meant for our fiscal 21 budget. So would we see amending this budget if there is another round of relief? If so, does it have to go to the commissions again? Or would we be able to just sort of take that in stride and allocate it elsewhere if so?
Thank you, Ms. Crystal. That's a great question. And yes, we are all certainly watching that legislation closely. I think, I think the way that the board handled the budget when the pandemic hit at the first point, and didn't sort of rush into an amendment right then, I would hope that we would take that same approach and just sort of wait to see how it all plays out. I think, I don't think we would necessarily want to come in and make any big changes to passenger fares or things like that. But I think we would just have to look and see how much is available, whether there are any time limits on the availability of any new money. That could certainly play into it. But I think we would just take more of a wait and see kind of approach. I think we feel pretty confident with the budget that we have now that we can get through 22.
All right, that's great. Thank you.
Any other comments?
Mr. Chairman, Supervisor Alcorn again.
Please.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate the comments and the suggestions about maybe relooking at the subsidy formula and some of the details there. I think that's a great idea. Love to see a process for that. And the other thing is, I mean, what Ms. Crystal just said, my goodness, comparing the budget here with what we're seeing in some other systems, this is such a blessing. So, thank you very much for your stewardship on this budget. This is such a better situation than we're seeing elsewhere. So thank you for that.
Oh, I'm sorry. Any other comments? Excuse me. We were muted there for a second. Okay. Seeing no, can I have a motion and a second to approve the resolution 9D?
So move, Supervisor Bailey.
Second, Supervisor Shelton.
Supervisor Bomke.
All right. Thank you. Now, any other questions before we go to the vote? Leslie, would you please call the vote?
Mr. Alcorn,
Aye.
Ms. Bailey,
Aye.
Ms. Banks,
Aye. Aye.
Ms. Bennett Parker,
Aye.
Ms. Bomke,
Aye.
Ms. Crystal,
Aye.
Ms. Franklin,
Aye.
Mr. Horsley,
Aye.
Ms. Lawson,
Aye.
Shelton,
Aye.
Chairman Skinner,
Aye.
Mr. Smith,
Aye.
Mr. Stork,
Aye. Aye.
Mr. Walkinshaw,
Aye.
Thank you. And Mr. Chairman, this motion passes.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you to the staff for a great presentation and all your hard work. Rich, let's go ahead and do the information items. First one is the VRE Transit Asset Management Plan Update for 2020. Rich, would you give us?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And within your board kit package there, there's a link to the actual transit asset management update. I'll refer that to you to review. But I'll just give a quick summary here. This and this report that I'm referring to, it's an example of the work the team referenced in action item 9C does for us. So in other words, that task order that we had that you just approved, that's again a summary of the work that team does for us. And so this is a December 2020 update of VRE's Transit Asset Management Program. And of course, the summary includes part of 2019 and 2020 updates and achievements. List them out real quick. There was some updates to our lifecycle maintenance plans for both rolling stock and facilities, updated parking facility inventory information, enhanced data support systems, and an update on reporting requirements. And just as a just a brief overview of why we do it. Number one is there is a requirement for us receiving federal funding to have a transit asset management program in place, but we've taken it very many layers beyond what's just the regulatory requirements, and have incorporated our entire maintenance management strategy and plans into the umbrella of our transit asset management program. So just want to make that point to you. If there's any questions, I can surely answer them, or when you at your leisure over the holidays, if you have a chance to go through the report and just simply want to become familiar with additional elements of that, reach out to myself directly, and I can surely set up a one-on-one with you. That's my summary, Mr. Chair.
Do you have a spending report?
Yes, sir. 10B, our spending authority report. I won't go through each and every one of them unless members have questions. These are just somewhat routine blanket purchase orders, task orders, in order to maintain a continuity of operations. So again, if anybody has any specific questions about any of those items, I will gladly answer them. That's my summary, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Hey, prior to going into a closed session, Robert, would you let all the participants know what they need to do?
Yes, so all of the participants will see a button at the top of the screen that you'll be able to click on to go into the closed session. So when you see that button, you'll be able to click on that, and then you'll be moved into that separate breakout session room is what it's called. And we will double check to make sure everybody makes it over there.
Thank you. Ms. Bennett Parker, please make a motion for the closed session. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Pursuant to the Virginia Freedom of Information Act, Section 2.2-3711A 1 and 3 of the Code of Virginia, I move that the VRE Operations Board convene a closed meeting for the purpose of discussing two matters. One pertaining to the acquisition of real property for public purposes related to the Broad Run expansion project, and the other a personnel matter relating to a contractor employed by the commissions.
Do I have a second?
Second, Supervisor Bailey.
Thank you. Leslie, will you please call the roll?
Mr. Alcorn?
Aye.
Ms. Bailey?
Aye.
Mr. Banks?
Aye.
Bennett Parker?
Aye.
Ms. Bomke?
Aye.
Ms. Crystal?
Aye.
Ms. Franklin?
Aye.
Mr. Horsley?
Aye.
Lawson?
Aye.
Shelton?
Aye.
Chairman Skinner?
Aye.
Mr. Smith?
Aye.
Mr. Stork?
Aye.
Mr. Walkinshaw.
Aye.
Chairman, that motion passes.
Okay, we will take about a minute or two break just to get prepared from a technology side here, and everybody should see that button appear at the top of your screen.
Thank you.
Operations Board certifies that to the best of each member's knowledge and with no individual member dissenting at the just concluded closed session, only public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements under the Freedom of Information Act were discussed, and only such public business matters as were identified in the motion by which the closed session was convened were heard, discussed, or considered.
Do I have a second?
Second, Supervisor Bailey.
Thank you, Ms. Bailey. Leslie, will you call the roll for the vote on the motion, please?
Mr. Alcorn,
Aye.
Ms. Bailey,
Aye.
Mr. Banks,
Aye.
Ms. Bennett Parker,
Aye.
Ms. Baumke,
Aye.
Ms. Crystal,
Aye.
Ms. Franklin,
Aye.
Mr. Horsley,
Aye.
Ms. Lawson,
Aye.
Ms. Shelton,
Aye.
Chairman Skinner,
Aye.
Mr. Smith,
Aye.
Mr. Stark,
Aye.
Mr. Walkinshaw,
Aye.
and Mr. Chairman, that motion passes.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. This is now board members' time, so I'm going to have Leslie call the roll to see if any of the members have their comments. Thank you. Go ahead, Leslie.
Mr. Alcorn,
None right now, other than want to thank Rich and the staff for excellent presentations today, and especially on the budget.
Ms. Bailey,
Comments. I just want to thank Rich and the staff for their presentations, but their adjustments and maintaining from a financial perspective where we needed to be in COVID. And just want to say happy holidays to my colleagues.
thank you. And Mr. Banks,
No comments. Just have a happy holidays. Thank you.
Ms. Bennett Parker,
Thanks to everyone for all their hard work this year, especially our chair, and happy holidays, everyone.
Ms. Baumke,
Just want to ditto what's being said, and thank you for your agility during this difficult time. And thank you, Chairman Skinner, for running a great meeting virtually with all these different players. Thank you and happy holidays.
Ms. Crystal,
Thank you. No comments. Happy holidays, everyone.
Ms. Franklin,
Hi, I just want to say Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays to everyone. It was a great meeting, all of you, and working with you this year. And I also just want to thank our transportation workers. Have a great holiday.
Mr. Horsley.
Just want to say happy to pinch hit for Director Mitchell and Mike McLaughlin today. They had a CTP meeting they needed to attend, and happy holidays, everyone.
Ms. Lawson.
Thank you. Mark, great job on the budget presentation. Just want to commend everybody, the VRE staff, for getting through this crazy year. I'm sure everybody agrees with me that 2020 don't let the door hit you in the rear. Anyway, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, and it's been a pleasure working with all of you.
Ms. Shelton.
Well, first of all, ditto to everybody. What everyone said before me, it's kind of hard sometimes to go last. I definitely wanted to give a shout out to Chairman Skinner for his leadership this year. And Mark, man, that was a great budget presentation. I really appreciated it. Thank you all. And Merry Christmas and Happy Hanukkah and any other things you wish to celebrate.
Chairman Skinner.
First of all, I'd like to thank everybody on the board. You don't do this job by yourself, and it's not successful until everybody puts in their time and helps me with everything. There'll be specific people next month I would like to thank, but for right now, I want to thank all the staff, Rich, Mark, all you guys who have helped me with this. I can't tell you how important it is to have support like this. And Ms. Bennett Parker, if you have time, I would hope that you will join us, please, in the closed session for the legal counsel. All right, I would appreciate that. And again, it's been a pleasure to do this. It really is. It's been 9 years since we've actually had. I'll take that back. 12 years. It's coming on 12 years since we started Spotsylvania being part of VRE. And so anyway, it's been a pleasure to see the people and the staff put that station there. And I will never forget it, believe me. It'll be a memory in my life the whole time. So other than that, I wish everybody a very safe and blessed holidays out there, and be safe, and look forward to seeing you in January. Thank you all.
Thank you. Mr. Smith.
Yes, I will salute and offer my kudos and thank you to the staff, the board, and the leadership. And unless you have other plans, please enjoy your holidays.
Mr. Stark.
I want to thank you all for being such kind and supportive folks during my first year on the board. And I've learned a lot, and hopefully we'll learn a lot more going forward. But I particularly want to thank the executive committee and Chairman Skinner and really all of you have kind of helped me learn the ropes, if you will. And most importantly of all, you all have a happy holiday, and we are looking forward to 2021 being much, much better. So again, thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Walkinshaw.
Yeah, just want to echo the thanks to all the operations board members, especially Chairman Skinner for his work and leadership over the course of this year, and of course the VRE staff for their incredible work under very challenging circumstances.
Okay, I think that's all the members that have comments. Robert, it's going to be the same thing we did for the first closed session, correct? Yes, I understand that. Okay, just wanted to make sure they understand. Okay. Okay, do I have a motion and a second to adjourn?
So move, Supervisor Bailey.
Second, Bennett Parker.
Thank you. Okay, Leslie, will take the roll call, please.
Mr. Alcorn.
Aye.
Ms. Bailey.
Aye.
Mr. Banks.
Aye.
Bennett Parker.
Aye.
Ms. Bomke.
Aye.
Ms. Crystal. Ms. Franklin.
Aye.
Mr. Horsley.
Aye.
Ms. Lawson.
Aye.
Ms. Shelton.
Aye.
Chairman Skinner.
Aye.
Mr. Smith.
Aye.
Mr. Stark.
Aye.
Mr. Walkinshaw,
Aye.
and that motion passes.
And we'll be back shortly for our second closed session today. Thank you.
The process will be similar. You'll have a pop-up button appear on your screen as we migrate everybody into the closed session.
Okay, folks, we're back into session at this point. I will lead us into the closed session pursuant to the Virginia Freedom of Information Act, Section 2.2-3711.A 1 of the Code of Virginia. I move that the VRE Operations Board Legal Services Committee convene a closed meeting for the purpose of discussing one personnel matter regarding a candidate for appointment by the commissions. Do I have a second?
Second. This is Katie Crystal.
Thank you, Katie. Okay, so now, folks, we will now go into closed session. It'll be a short period of time, but we'll let you know when we're back up. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Ms. Monkey.
Yeah, just a question, a technical question. I just don't want to do anything that's wrong. On the VRE agenda, it said that the Legal Services Committee would be having a meeting, and that was obviously added later with an asterisk, but it doesn't indicate that we're actually going into closed session. Is that a problem?
I'll ask Mr. McIsaac to answer that question.
Mr. Chairman, Ms. Bunky, no, it is not a problem. I mean, once you've convened a duly noticed meeting, you're free to take up the business of the body, including going into closed session. So it's not a problem.
Okay, just checking. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Chairman?
Ms. Lawson?
Thank you. So you have a motion on the floor with a second. I think at a minimum, we should do a vote by acclamation before we actually transition over.
You're absolutely right. Thank you for that.
You're
Liz,
welcome.
are you on board?
I'm still here.
Okay, would you please call the roll?
Ms. Bailey?
Aye.
Ms. Bennett Parker?
Aye.
Ms. Bonke?
Aye.
Ms. Crystal?
Aye.
Mr. Horsley?
Aye.
Ms. Lawson?
Aye.
Mr. Smith?
Aye.
Mr. Stork?
Aye.
Mr. Walkinshaw?
Aye.
Mr. Skinner?
Aye.
And your motion passes.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Ms. Lawson. Appreciate that help. Let's go. We'll see you back in a few minutes. Thank you. Thank you, folks. We're back online. So I'm going to read us back into open session. The VRE Operations Board Legal Services Committee certifies that to the best of each member's knowledge and with no individual member dissenting at the just concluded closed session, that only public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements under the Freedom of Information Act were discussed, and only such public business matters as were identified in the motion by which the closed session was convened were heard, discussed, or considered. Leslie, would you please call for the vote?
It's Ms. Bailey?
Aye.
Bennett Parker?
Aye.
Ms. Bomke?
Aye.
Ms. Crystal,
Aye.
Ms. Lawson,
Sorry, aye.
Mr. Smith,
Aye.
Mr. Skinner,
Aye.
Mr. Stork,
Aye.
Mr. Walkinshaw,
Aye.
and that motion passes.
Thank you very much. Do we need a close adjournment? We need adjournment or not? Okay. Well, folks, thank you very much for everything. I appreciate it. If the committee members would send me an email, please, on what's your thoughts about bond council taking a look at this. We'll go from there. I'd appreciate it very much, and I'll get back with Steve as to what this board thinks. Thank you very much. Everybody have a wonderful holiday season. Be safe. Look forward to seeing you in January.
Thanks, Gary. Great job.
Thank you.
Happy holidays to you all.
Bye. Happy holidays.
Bye.
Okay.
And stop streaming.